Teaching transgenderism, we're teaching black feminist negotiation.
Do you think feminism should be outlawed?
My question would be, let's just taking what you're saying, what's wrong with teaching those things?
I agree with Shemichael. He's spot on this. The reality is that nothing wrong with that, Abby.
So then why on earth would we live in a society in which the government could say you cannot teach those things?
They're not.
I think that's the point. That's the question that's on the table, right?
No, you're talking about let me finish. Feminist queer negotiation at the law school.
You're talking about banning environmental studies because he doesn't believe in it, so he can give kickbacks to his oil buddies. You're talking about banning journalism in schools. This is where his end game at. It's all about control. Yeah, a lot of the crazy.
And they want to promote a woke agenda as they have, and they want to make a campus an unsafe environment for Jewish students.
Hold on. All right, let me play a little bit more from the.
Do that. That's like actually that's trying to mind control young people.
Part of their minds. Harvard has dined frequently on multiple occasions with Holocaust deniers. I'm not sure that Donald Trump is really using I believe he's using anti-Semitism as a pretext to push his own agenda. And candidly, that's insulting.
All right,
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this segment. This is why I like panels, because sometimes the mask drops and this bigot let it drop a little bit too low and revealed himself. Check this out and we'll talk about it.
He's so obsessed with Harvard.
I think this is a political thing. I think you're literally shifting the narrative to force Democrats to have to defend elitism and wealthier individuals. It's a New Deal. Working class people, individuals without a college degree were reliable Democratic voters. That absolutely shifted with Donald Trump, and I think he's attempting to cement that. And so however these judges rule, I think that's less important. I think the real importance here is politically what narrative is the president trying to signal to the American people to put Democrats on the defensive to say, yeah, we're protecting foreign students. We're protecting Harvard University where 62% of Americans don't even have a college degree. I wouldn't want to be Democrats making that argument to the American people right now.
But can I jump in here? I mean, here's the bottom line. I don't disagree with that. And I think, frankly, from a sheer tactical PR standpoint, it was smart of him, if he's going to do this against a university, it was smart to go after an elitist institution like Harvard. However, at the end of the day, what we're seeing in polling, especially when you pull back the curtain and you realize, oh, wait a minute, there's a lot of NIH funding that goes through Harvard. There's a lot of research done on, future medical sciences, like everything from breast cancer to, Alzheimer's disease. When you actually look at all the research work that Harvard does and you let voters know that, you see in polling that a majority of the American people have a problem with this. And they also understand that if you go after Harvard successfully, are you going to go after every other public institution? I mean, again, I think I understand what he was doing by going after Harvard. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of Americans, and we see this in polling, think he's going down a dangerous road, and they have concerns with it.
Adrian's absolutely right. Trump thinks that if he can get Harvard to bend the knee, then he can get any university to bend the knee. And let's play this out. That means that any academic institution would be under Trump's whim. You're talking about banning bankruptcy courses in law to avoid the six.
No, you're talking about banning black feminist queer negotiation at the law school.
You're talking about banning environmental studies because he doesn't believe in it, so he can give kickbacks to his oil buddies. You're talking about banning journalism in schools. This is where his end game at. It's all about control.
This stuff.
Yeah, a lot of the crazy. A lot of the wild stuff that you thought that he wasn't going to do, he's doing now, and you're trying to defend it.
Dan, no one's proposing any.
We're teaching transgenderism. We're teaching black feminist negotiation.
Do you think feminism should be outlawed?
My question would be, let's just taking what you're saying, what's wrong with teaching those things?
I agree with Shemichael. He's spot on this. The reality is that you have a $53 billion endowment at Harvard. For the average American, it's like, why are my tax dollars going to foster a school that is also the president of the university is refusing to condone speech that says we're going to tolerate genocide of Jews?
Hold on, no, I'm not talking about.
That is what she said
first of all,
under testimony.
I'm not talking about that particularly. I'm talking about what you just raised here. What's wrong with people learning things about queer gender identity that you disagree with?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, Abby.
So then why on earth would we live in a society in which the government could say you cannot teach those things?
They're not.
I think that's the point. That's the question that's on the table, right?
Like, there are schools like Hillsdale College in Grove City that they basically private institutions. Harvard could be private. It's got a $53 billion endowment. But if they want to take taxpayer dollars and they want to promote a woke agenda as they have, and they want to make a campus an unsafe environment for Jewish students,
hold on.
I think
All right,
that's
let me play a little bit more from the.
Can't do that. That's like actually that's trying to mind control young people. That is
Yes.
Their minds-
Harvard is a
yes,
campus.
because you're punishing them for their syllabus. If you won't
Harvard
even
is a
engage in
campus.
conversation,
Mind control?
It is because you're nurturing
Well, the
young
current
people.
I mean, Tara, the current ideological leanings of Harvard and most Ivy League institutions is way to the left, progressively left. Borderline Marxist
the
left,
Republican
in my
Party
opinion.
was the party of free speech, and you can't
Yes.
have a conversation about queer rights.
So there's a
you
free
can't have a
speech
conversation.
Well, I don't mind
about
that.
There's
I mean,
a free speech
that's not-
student
that doesn't bother me.
organization called FIRE that ranks Harvard. They say the professors there feel it is the most unsafe campus for them to speak out and give their own personal opinions. So you talk about free speech and when to have that. That's not what's happened at Harvard. The professors themselves say they will get punished if they speak out and say what they believe.
What is the
But that's
government's?
not for
I
the
think the
government-
question
that's
is
not the government's role.
The
Yeah.
question is, what's the government's role? And
All right, so let me say something here. Republicans just have zero self-reflections. Do they ever think why these institutions, they were crying about not being able to speak at commencements, why these institutions lean to the left? Is it possible because it leans to the truth, not lies and conspiracies, that they're not really leaning to the left? They're just telling the truth about things, and that's what you hate? Is it possible at all in your universe that you are wrong and you just been tricked? Like, guys, this is just like, and I think it's quite obvious what Trump is doing here. It's a multi-prong issue that he knows, once again, Republicans will eat up like the little baby birds they are. He is pissed at Harvard because they didn't bend the knee to his stupid DI and woke nonsense he's always crying about and having tantrums about. And in my perspective, it's a deeper issue than that. It's about attacking education and science and history, because it's so obvious why they attack this, because they want to be able to lie. Same reason they can't stand fact checkers. I wonder why. That's a tough one to figure out. I wonder why they despise fact checkers. And it's just completely obvious of what's going on here. And I wish somebody would bring it out. Republicans hate education simply because it proves them wrong all the time. And how the things that they say, these stupid conspiracies, don't make any sense on any level. Science is the same way. Remember when they really started attacking science? When was it? It was during COVID. Because experts in the field, people who have been dedicated their lives, decades, to understanding how these things work, were telling them how ridiculous the things that they believed in were. And the people that are telling you these things are lying to you for money. And they don't like to be told that they're wrong. Again, high level of confidence, low level of intelligence. These type of people don't want to be told that they're wrong. They've been tricked, right? They got their heels dug in. Like, this is the party of flat earthers, guys, to put it as nicely as possible. Guys, remember during COVID, these guys were running around telling people how vaccines were going to like kill us all and do something like some form of depopulation. Again, Republicans just fall for anything. And then they just move on to the next conspiracy like nothing ever happened. And then for me, history, that's a big one that they hate. It's the same reason Trump is attacking Black History Month, the Smithsonian Museum, and the Black history that they exhibits that they have there. He's defunded those. It's obvious why. Because he knows, just like Republicans, America has a disgusting, brutal, bloody history of treating black people in this country unfairly till this day. And again, it proves them wrong about their beliefs about black people and how somehow they're inherently dangerous or incompetent, which is these words that they constantly like to associate black people with, which is just obviously not the truth. They just want to be able to keep saying these things without being proven wrong and called out by actual authorities in these subjects. And then it would explain why things like DEI may be necessary, because of the boot that was put on the black community neck till this day. Sorry for the long rant.
I think the second question that's raised by Harvard's president, because I'm going to play this bite, is when Trump says he's going to take away the funding, right? is he actually trying to get the result that he claims he's going to get? Because here is actually what the funding is. This is according to Harvard's president.
The research funding is given to universities and other research institutions to carry out work that the research work that the federal government designates as high priority work. Shutting off that work does not help the country, even as it punishes Harvard. And it is hard to see the link between that and, say, anti-Semitism.
The reason he's saying that, and I've tried to make this point because I think it's very important just from a logical perspective. Harvard is getting research dollars to do research. That research is into things like cancer, heart disease, neurodegenerative diseases, obesity, infectious diseases, organ transplantation. The research that then becomes the pharmaceutical giants that create billions of dollars worth of value in this economy comes from those institutions, and it's not charity.
Well, we're not talking about...
No, it's not charity. It's money that is being given to do certain things.
We're not.
So if you want to make Harvard a more intellectually, open place, you might want to try targeting those things as opposed to the dollars going to the nerds in the chemistry lab.
Look, the research is important. I'm not going to argue against that. But we're not talking about multiple universities and institutions. We're talking about one. We're talking about Harvard, which has not done a good job of protecting its Jewish students. The institution has a $53.2 billion endowment.
I understand
$9 billion of which is liquid.
But you are not
You mean to tell me they don't have enough money to take care of research?
No. Hold on a second. You're not answering the point, okay? I take the concerns about anti-Semitism.
Sure.
That's
it's
very
a real
important.
Thing.
Harvard knows it's important. They created a whole document that the government has then cribbed from to try to punish it. But my point is, on the research front, if you take the money away, the research is going to stop. Harvard will continue to exist, but the research will stop.
Did you read the article? I disagree with that. I disagree with that. Larry Summers, a former president of Harvard, said Harvard's endowment is large enough where the institution could tap into that money if it needed to. If Harvard decides not to do that, then that's Harvard's decision.
The point is we are going down a dangerous precedent here.
I understand the point.
And look, I think every single one of us at this table could go through every single collegiate institution in this country and find something that we have a problem with when it comes to their curriculum. But that does not mean that we are the jury here. That does not mean that Donald Trump and his administration should be policing every single thing that a university is doing. And that is why a lot of Americans have a problem with the way that they approach Harvard. Because they're looking at this and saying, well, what's next? And how is this going to affect, my health research funding in my local area? Are they going to all of a sudden, get rid of 10% of the student body because they're cutting funds, and then it's going to affect my local community?
What could solve this is protecting Jewish students would easily solve this.
Hundreds of public universities would gladly accept these dollars for not.
Do people really think that Harvard just, for what reason, just hates Jewish people, just want to attack? How this stuff works on people, I don't get it, honestly. Why would
hostile to Jewish students?
Yep.
There's plenty of places these dollars can go.
Listen, hold on. One quick thing for you, Mark, because you mentioned Hillsdale. You mentioned Hillsdale College, just as an example. This more of a right-leaning college. The reason that Hillsdale College could be like, we can teach whatever we want. If they want to teach creationism, no one's, I guess, going to stop them, although who knows what might happen in a Democratic administration. But they are also not doing the kind of research work that these large research institutions are doing that are in the public good. So, I mean, do you see the distinction here between those two things?
There are hundreds of public institutions that would gladly accept those research dollars.
Yeah, they are getting.
Who are not hostile to Jewish students the way Harvard has been.
Yeah, but what does the research dollars have to do with the way students treat each other on campus? It doesn't have anything to do with one another.
I think it's been long established that when you're getting federal taxpayer dollars, that there are going to be strings attached to that. It's been similar with other Democrat administrations and other schools, too.
And so what does the university want Harvard to do?
Well, I think they probably want Harvard not to be hostile to Jewish students as a starting point.
That's not what they've said.
As Larry Summers himself...
Actually, I think it is what Trump has said.
As Larry Summers himself pointed out, Donald Trump has dined frequently on multiple occasions with Holocaust deniers. I'm not sure that Donald Trump is really using I believe he's using anti-Semitism as a pretext to push his own agenda. And candidly, that's insulting.
All right, we got to leave it there.
Bingo. Yep, and he's talking about Nick Fuentes, and he knew about it ahead of time. And Kanye West. So this anti-Semitism coming from the right garbage it's laughable. And actually, this whole Harvard thing and the anti-Semitism thing is actually the one issue that a huge amount of the Republican base despises what Trump is doing. That thing that he keeps talking about, that he's helping Jewish students and anti-Semitism, this and that. Why do you think they hate it? The Republican base hates Jews. They think they're the reason for all the world's problems. Because of course they do. Again, they're conspiracy brain. There's no space anymore for logic and reasoning when it's just filled with conspiracy after conspiracy, just garbage. And guys, final 2 minutes here, 1 minute. Your brain is like a hard drive. I think it's worth listening to this. It can only hold so much information, right? And unfortunately, for some, it's filled with just nonsense and conspiracies and garbage. And again, it all comes back to Republicans want you uneducated. It's why they shut down the Department of Education. And it's why they're attacking Harvard and any institution that they can. They want to keep you as dumb as you are now and as dumb as possible. And I hate to be that upfront, but I said this a ton of times before. They think you aren't very intelligent and willing to do any level of research. You can prove to them that you are, but they know that you just sit there and listen and take orders for the next thing to be angry and scared about. And I'm here to tell you and promise you, you do not need to be scared or angry with anyone on our side. The monsters are under your bed, not ours. Like at any moment, I mentioned this earlier, do Republicans have any level of self-reflection? Do you ever think that you may be wrong? Is it possible in your universe that you've been tricked into believing just stupid things, vile things about different groups of people? Have you never been lied to? It's always someone else's issue, right? It's like the same. It's like the same reason, right? Like you think the reason women don't date you, right, is because women be bitches, right? Like anytime, are you? Maybe I'm the problem. You ever go into a room and everyone told you that you're too loud? If this ever happened to you, I don't know if it did, but just picture the scenario where you go into a room and everyone told you that you're loud. Are you really going to think that everyone else is wrong? It's just like this, again, this high level of confidence paired with this low level of curiosity or introspection is just staggering to me. I'm going to tell you right now, the reason women don't date you and won't date you, I hate to say it, Papi, is because of you. It's because of you, not them. At least I can only, if I was to place a bet, I would place that bet that it's probably you. But I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this. I try to read just about all the comments. It's getting hard. Please like, subscribe, it really helps the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.